Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of MHVR Bites. My name is Dr. Adam Baldowski. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Jessica Stone. And
it's going to be a day.
It is going to be a day. We've determined that I can't talk. Our guest can't see. We're just putting that out there right now.
Hey, yeah.
But we're joined by the wonderfully lovely Fiona Hill. Fiona, I'm curious. Tell us and our listeners a little about yourself, how you got into virtual reality. I see you're an RPTS. How does like play therapy come in? Like, how did you fall into this?
Okay, so since we're being fully transparent, I asked if I could just say I'm me, and I was told that I could not. Okay, so I am a registered play therapy supervisor and a clinical supervisor in Missouri. I'm in private practice. I've been in private practice since, 2019. And I started using just digital tools in general right around when COVID hit. And so that's how I met Dr. Stone. And so do we say Dr. Stone or Jessica? I don't know. I always defer to Dr. Stone.
Okay. Great.
I always defer to Dr. Stone, and then I'm like, wait, is that what we should be doing here? Squirrel.
I don't want you to gloss over the fact that you have a long history in working in county mental health. Is that?
Yeah. So I worked in community mental health. I've been in some form of community mental health for like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so a long time.
Yes.
And so that's primarily what my background has been in. And then I did a lot of like clinical case management, and then I tell people I took the long way around to licensure. Because oddly enough, I always said I don't want to be in private practice full time. Well, look who the joke is on. It is on me. So I took the long way around to get there. And then I had just started my private practice. I was in a group practice, and I just started the group practice and left my full-time job when in October of 2019. So like 6-ish months before COVID hit. And so that's how I started using technology in session. So I think maybe the next how many ever minutes is going to be a full of oddities, because I also said a week before COVID hit that I would never use technology in session.
So you might be the reason that COVID hit.
Right? Right. And and specifically I said I would never do play therapy virtually. Well, there's another joke for us all.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
And I will say, and I don't say that begrudgingly, because it's the best thing that's happened personally and professionally. So, yeah.
So the progression from starting to use digital tools that you thought you would never be using, telehealth that you thought you'd never be doing. And so how did you get from there, the comfort, learning about it, using it, seeing the impact with your clients, all those things? How'd you get from there to VR? Because for a lot of therapists, that's a huge leap too. Even though those of us who use it, at least I'll speak for myself, I don't feel like it's a huge leap, but a lot of people see it that way. So here you are, no, I'm not doing that. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Oh, nope, not doing it. Oh, I'll do that. And then all of a sudden, whoo, you're in VR. How'd that happen?
Right. So I think, so for me, like you, it was, it was just a natural natural step, because okay, so I'm already using other technology in session. This is just an added component that's helpful to people. And also, and I think for me, I don't think I can separate the personal and the professional, because it all just kind of came together at the same time in my personal experience in using VR. And Jessica, you talk about this a lot about, so I think we're missing a part too of like how we connected. So we connected through the virtual sanitary app, and then fast forward to now.
Mm-hmm.
But you talk a lot about when we were playing, we were involved in like a school, a school put on a VR Halloween event, and we're playing this game. And I don't know that I've ever said this, but so I am very afraid of heights. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in real life or if I'm in a headset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very afraid of heights. And so we're in this game, we're in this event, and it's dark and I can't see, and then all of a sudden I'm falling because I had to go down this deep hole to get to the next part, and I could literally feel it in my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And then you tell about how we're standing right next to each other, and you're having this experience, and then you look over at me. Oh, okay, we're in a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I can't. So it's hard to separate the personal from the professional, because I've experienced how impactful it is,
Mm-hmm.
and how impactful it can be. And then watching families in session, not even playing a quote unquote therapeutic game, but using the tutorial as an attachment building process, where a client really struggles with experiencing nurture from an adult, and physically allowing the parent to come behind them and say, okay, and touch them and say, here I am right here, and I'm going to help you navigate because I can see what's happening.
So a couple of things that I'm hearing you say. One is when you were saying it's hard to separate the personal and the professional. I want to maybe clarify that a little bit for the people who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
because what I understand anyway, so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understand of that is that you were having experiences in the headset with friends, in your personal life, and through those experiences you started to recognize, realize, experience all the things that there's real power in this. I'm falling down
Yeah.
that hole in VR and I'm feeling it in my stomach. This is impacting my body. This is impacting my experience, and it has power to it. And so that's just one example. The example of us looking at each other and going,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're safe. Like, it's okay. We're together. We can figure this out. We can see each other. We can hear each other. We're in the same space, at least in our brain, body, mind. Like, we're in the same space.
Yeah.
And so we're experiencing in that way. And so as you were having those experiences on a personal level, recognizing the power of it, then you could translate that
Yeah.
into what you were going to do professionally and what your clients
Yeah.
can therefore then experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last piece that you were just talking about, I had a point I wanted to make and now I can't remember what it was.
Join my club.
Well, maybe, while you're thinking about that, I did have a question about what you were just talking about with, because you mentioned working with families, and I've only ever used VR with like individual clients. So when you are working with families, is one client in the VR space? Are they all in the VR space? And how can you
Yeah.
describe what that experience is like?
So I'm going to say a word that there's probably a love-hate relationship with people. It depends.
Sure.
Because it depends on one, obviously it depends on the client and the family's needs, and it also depends on what game you're using. So one, it and how you use it in families. So um I was introduced to a game called Acron that is amazing. If you have not played it, you need to play it. But where one person has a headset on, and then the other people in the game have some sort of tablet, where it's a phone, whether it's a phone or an iPad, or I don't know. I don't use Android, so I don't know if the Android versions of the tablets are.
Well, there are
Um,
a whole bunch of
Yeah,
them,
and there's
but
tablets.
basically
okay,
a mobile device.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a mobile device. Where the person in the headset is the tree, and then everybody else on the mobile device is the squirrel. So that can be used in a lot of different ways.
Oh, acorn. Oh, okay. Now, yeah.
Did I
Well,
say Acron? I'm sorry.
that's correct. It's not acorn.
Okay.
Oh, it's acorn. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
it's
So confusing.
ACRON. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So confusing. Um, and so you can work at it. So I've had situations where families where they're typically very competitive with each other will join forces against the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's one way. This way that I was talking about, only one person had the headset on. The caregiver was there as a safety net. And so
Okay.
she did not have the caregiver did not have a headset on.
And that is actually the second thing I was going to ask about. So, or talk about a little
Mhm.
bit. So it sounded like when you were talking about the tutorial, I imagined that you were talking about the tutorial that's in the headset that you have is the
Yeah.
MetaQuest, right? And
Yeah.
so were you talking about there are two different tutorials that you can start off with.
First steps.
So first steps. So here you have
Yeah.
the client in the headset in first steps,
Mhm.
and then you have the caregiver. In this particular instance, I don't know that you do that all the time, but in this instance, you have the caregiver who is present there for support. And
Mhm.
I'm imagining also so this caregiver can understand a little bit more about what you're doing and why you're doing it. Like, you're going to have my
Mhm.
kid in what? Like, what are we doing? So
Mhm.
then you have the caregiver there for multiple reasons. And I am also imagining that you have it casted onto another device so that the caregiver
Mhm.
can see what the
Mhm.
client sees in the headset, and
Yeah.
so then can help the client navigate through that tutorial. So
Mhm.
could you talk a little bit about what you see happening between the caregiver and the client while this is happening? Because
Mhm.
it's not it's we talk so much about like the technology and
Mm.
the program and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
but whether it's technology or not, even if it were drawing a picture or it's something else,
Mhm.
there's a process that's happening between the caregiver
Yeah.
and the client in
Yeah.
that, and that's
Yeah.
powerful. That's
Mhm.
where so much of the therapy is happening. It really doesn't matter what the
Mhm.
intervention was.
Yeah. I want to back up and say, so obviously I'm sanitizing the information,
Yeah.
and I have permission to share in a sanitized version. Um
Okay.
and with the situation, it, um I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it. So I think a lot of times, at least in my experience, a misconception is that if you have a MetaQuest headset in your office, that's all that somebody's going to want to do.
Mhm.
That's not true. Um, and I've seen it over and over and over again, where if if the VR headset is something that meets a need, they're going to choose that. And if it's not going to meet a need that day, then they won't choose it. They'll choose something else. And so I say that to say, because in this situation, there were also other attachment building activities that they were doing in session. And to see, and so back to your question and your point, so to see from a situation where the child struggles with accepting help from a trusted adult and accepting nurturing, like if dysregulated, whether it's another activity, whether it's an art activity or something in the headset, not the difficulty in accepting nurturing and accepting help, and to see that progression to asking for help and seeking it out was amazing. It was amazing.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
And another in another situation that I had where someone was in the headset and just yelling, like not yelling as in like anger yelling, but just talking very loudly. And it was the same scenario over and over and over from week to week. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, and because they were saying the same thing, can you hear me? Can you hear me? And in my head, I'm like, dude, yes, I can hear you. I'm in the same room, but acknowledging that and saying, yes, I can hear you, and meeting that need. From that point on, that need had been met. His voice was important, and he could be heard.
So even part of what I hear you say is even the person outside of the headset, not in a multiplayer game, not both people, avatars in the same environment within the headset, even a therapist outside of the headset and a client in the headset can have really important therapeutic value.
Yeah.
An important piece certainly is that it's casted so that the therapist can see what the client is experiencing. Otherwise, you're kind of left in the dark.
And that has happened before, and that's unnerving. That is unnerving. And I just lost my train of thought too. See? We're a great bunch today.
When you're working with families, what happens if you get somebody who's resistant or is unsure about VR? Feel like it's because it's viewed as like a game. Is this really beneficial? How do you handle that with not just clients but parents? Because like you said, you did not want to do private practice. I didn't want to work with teens. Teens scared me. Their parents scared me.
Me either.
And then I love working with them.
Yeah. They're some of my favorite people. I remember working in community mental health when I transitioned from clinical case management to therapy. I looked at my director and I said, so here I was like having all these kids, and I said, well, so when I interviewed, she asked me, she said, Fiona, what age group do you want to work with? I said, okay, 5 to 12 and then 25 and up. She's like, Fiona, you're missing an entire group of people. I was like, I know. And so then when I started seeing people in that age range, I said, what are you doing? She's like, well, you didn't think it was really going to happen, did you? Like, well, yeah, because I said it. So therefore it's going to happen. But yeah, so I think it's an important discussion to have in working with parents because the parents are an important part of the therapeutic process. And for me, at least right now, like I really try to work with them where they are, because me trying to convince them that it's helpful is not helpful. Um, I can give them all the information and all the research, and sometimes it's a long process. Sometimes it's a long process, and sometimes it's a process that doesn't happen at all. And and so I think within myself, I have to kind of assess where the parent is, and and assess, can I kind of lead them along and say, okay, this is how it's going to be beneficial, or is this going to be a parent or a family that I have to be okay with not using it. I will say I get more pushback from video games than I do the VR headset.
Oh,
I'm not
interesting.
sure why.
I think that it's a combination of things. I think the therapist's comfort and the
Mhm.
knowledge and just even the
Mhm.
confidence with which a
Yeah.
therapist introduces, this is what
Yeah.
I this is either what I do, this is what I'd like to do,
Mhm.
this is why XYZ. I think that's
Right.
a big piece of it. And I think there's also importance, as you said, in where the family is, what their values are, uh, discovering that and respecting and honoring that, and pairing that together with what you
Mhm.
see is going to be the therapeutic goals and how you're going to hopefully reach them. And and then, of course, client interest is in there as
Yeah.
well. The the I will say, I think that I have a different experience than a lot of other therapists because I'm known for this. People
Mhm.
often know that ahead of time before they even get to me. And so they
Yeah.
actually came to me because they knew that about me. So I think I get a lot less pushback than a lot of other people
Yeah.
do, which
Yeah.
frankly
And I
I'm
think
happy
that's
for.
right. And I think that's important. I think that's important too, because I'm also getting less and less pushback,
Mhm.
because people are referring to me because of the interest in the use of technology in VR. And I think with VR, kind of back to your questions, Adam, before about using it in family work, I think it's a powerful statement to be able to go back and say, we can use VR for more than just exposure therapy,
Mhm.
Mhm.
which is the easy thing, and that's what's been around for a long time, right? But that, and going back to that, the power of co-play, whatever that co-play looks like, going back to the power of co-play in that relationship building.
Mhm. Relationship building between the client and the therapist.
Hmm.
It can also be relationship building with the client and whoever else, a sibling,
Hmm.
family members, caregivers, all those people. Going back to your example of Akron,
Yeah.
it's this great game for group, for family therapy, um, and it is fascinating to watch people really join together as
Hmm.
squirrels against whoever that tree is. And
Yeah.
that's one of the most glorious moments for me in those times when
Hmm.
I'm the tree and they're joining as a family. And even though I'm in the headset, I can hear them
Yeah.
rallying together and encouraging each other. And that's
Yeah.
something that a lot of these families we see
Yeah.
don't get to experience that
And
in very many.
whispering to each other to come up with strategies,
Mm.
so you
Yeah.
can't so you quote can't hear them.
And I also
Well,
wanted to point out that there are a lot of things that we do traditionally in therapy in general, and then in play therapy specifically, that I've been in. I started in play therapy in 91, I think,
Hmm.
1991. Past this past century.
It's not even
And
20 years ago. That's fine, right?
when I started, the conversation was, oh, we have to explain why we're drawing with a kid or why we're playing a game. Like even board games were, back then it was, you only had the therapeutic board games, but using something like Connect 4, that was silly talk. That was crazy. Like you wouldn't do that. Now that has changed. I think what we're doing as a field is recognizing that the key components that are in these interactions are translatable into other types of interventions, and that includes the digital. So it's not a new concept for people in this niche to have to explain. Like I remember explaining to a parent the therapeutic value of walking down the street with the parent permission, walking down the street to the school at the end of the street, playing horse, the basketball game. So playing horse and then walking back. We sat in my office. We had hardly any conversation, hardly any play interaction, any of that. But the whole way to the school, chat, 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 playing horse, where we're learning strategy, we're learning frustration tolerance, we're coming together, we're competing against each other, we're doing all of these different components that were struggles for this person in their day-to-day life. And then the whole way back, chat, 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 chat. I would have never gotten to those components if it hadn't been for doing that activity. I had to translate that to having some meaning and value to the parent. So it's not a new concept for us to be doing that.
Right.
And now we're adding in that these interventions are digital.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk a little bit, Adam, because I've been chit-chatting a whole bunch as usual.
No, but you're good. It's interesting because the idea of bringing in different games, all these people seem to be fascinated with not just play therapy tools, but I do a lot of geek therapy, so I use a lot of pop culture. And they're like, "What do you mean you use comic books?" Like, well, I'm still using the evidence-based research from before. I always joke that I quote Iron Man instead of Freud, right? Like, but it's really about what, like,
Nice.
if it gets the client talking and gets them to connect to what you're working on, then that's really the goal. You're just finding a different way into it. What, Fiona, I'm curious, as a clinician, what have you learned about yourself through this process, through using VR with your clients, even for yourself?
I think I've learned that it takes us out of I don't want to say it takes us out of our comfort zone, in our comfort zone, if that makes sense. And I don't think that makes sense. So,
But say more.
but
it doesn't not
Yeah.
make sense, but I think there's probably more to it than what you're saying.
And sometimes I have these thoughts in my head and and I mean them, but I'm not sure how I mean them. So
it happens to me all the time.
Oh good. I'm not alone. That's great. But I think for me, I learned it I think for me, it's really taught me how to be more present with myself and the people that I'm working with. And really hearing what they're saying and really looking at and paying attention to what's professionally looking at and paying closer attention to the shifts that I'm looking for. And then I think personally for myself, I think I think it's taught me that I have this part of myself that's okay. Cause like, I think about it a lot. Like I grew up playing video games and then I went through like this whole stage. Oh, I don't want to play video games. And now like all of a sudden, I'm playing these games and getting in the VR headset for for personal care and connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a roundabout way of saying that it's opened up a whole nother world of connection that I didn't really know existed.
Do you experience the connection within the headset to be of any different, anything different quality, different? Is there some
Mm-mm.
difference to it?
For me, no.
For me, I know, particularly when I'm in trainings, I actually prefer to be in a training in a headset than I do in a
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. I feel I can see everybody. Do you remember the training that I did
Mm-hmm.
years ago, right? And all these
Mm-hmm.
people are sitting in these bleachers. They're all
Yeah.
people in their
Mm-hmm.
headsets. Whereas in a Zoom, if there's more than one page of people, you have to scroll to see the other
Yeah.
people. You
True.
can't see
Yeah.
them. You can only
Yeah.
see from here to here. In the
Yeah.
in the VR, I was able to see their whole bodies, if they were up and walking, if they were, moving their arms around.
Okay.
Like if
Yeah.
I'm moving my arms all over the place, you can kind of see my body's moving, but you can't
Yeah.
see what I'm doing. But in VR, we were able to see all of that.
Yeah.
For me, I feel so much more connected. And so I don't think there's something missing from it, at least in my experience,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of being in two separate locations. But I do think there's an additional piece that I have experienced of
Yeah.
being in that space and also being able to interact in that space
Yeah.
together. Like when
Yeah.
we in alt space, sniff sniff, when we were in there, and we'd be able to pick up like the fireworks
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
shoot off the fireworks, and we could all sit there and see
Yeah.
the fireworks go off.
Yeah.
Or when we were able to play basketball in there, or
Mm-hmm.
all the different things that we're able to
Yeah.
do in there. That to me is a very different experience
Yeah.
than being in a Zoom.
Well, yeah. So to your point, I said no, but now I'm going to change my answer to yes.
You don't have to
Because
because
now,
I said it.
yeah, no. Well, so I say yes and no.
Mhm.
I don't experience a different in terms of it being a less quality experience. No, I don't experience a difference. But yes, because I remember in one of the trainings where my I I think I just gotten the headset, and all these people around me were being able to talk and hear each other, and nobody could hear me because my microphone wasn't working.
Mhm.
And the visceral response that I had in my body of not being able to engage in that was very real. And having the similar experiences, and I guess maybe helping like with an empathy piece of, oh, I wonder if this is how maybe my clients feel when they're excluded, maybe not on purpose, but like when they don't feel like they fit in. And then the other experience, Jessica, I don't know if you remember this, but in one of the trainings, this person in it might have been alt space, but we were trying to take a picture, and we were all like, we just want to take a picture. And he's like following us around, he's like following me around. I'm like,
Mhm.
go away. And so, and when you're in the headset, it can be easier, to, or sometimes if they're that close, it can be harder to tell that they're that close to you. But then when you turn around and the dude's like right in your face like this, like, whoa, back up.
Well, and one of the things that I really liked, and I've spoken in other ways, and I think this is part of what you're talking about too. One is that experience of being in the physical, the not same physical space, but it feels like you're in the
Mhm.
same environment
Mm-hmm.
space. Is that when you're in a public area,
Mm-hmm.
like you can go into Horizon Worlds and things like that.
Yeah.
When you're in that public area, then there are other people who are going to be around you, and you really do feel like, you're in my personal space, or what, too close to whatever. I think there's value in recognizing our own internal experience of that. And in some programs and in AltSpace, they had it, you could put up a personal boundary.
Right.
And how amazing an idea, a concept for our clients to not only be able to have that feature, but to even be able to go through the thought process of, this is making me uncomfortable. This is the internal response I'm having to this. What can I do to protect myself, to advocate for myself? And even though in our on the playground or in the workspace or whatever, even though we don't have a button we can push to go, ooh, I have a bubble now, I can't hear you, you can't talk to me, go away. We don't have that.
No,
But
I can't hear you.
But we can then have the experience of going, okay, I recognize that feeling, and I'm uncomfortable with what is happening right now. And how can I protect myself? How can I advocate for myself in this situation? And there may not be the button to push, but it's still a whole process, because it's not just having the feature. Particularly for the clients we work with, a lot of the work is actually steps before that, which is, how do you recognize within yourself that you're having these experiences, these reactions? And a lot of times it's somatic. My stomach, dropped. I feel like I need to recoil. There's a heaviness, like all kinds of things that we can experience. Recognizing that, and then pairing that with whatever the meaning is, and discovering that, and then having the traditionally self-esteem, but even the self-awareness, the personal agency, the empowerment pieces to say, I feel these ways, and it's appropriate and important for me to then advocate for myself based on the things that I've recognized. So a lot of times we talk about the part that's in the latter part of what I just said, but really a big part of the therapy portion is the earlier part of that. And even a simple, air quotes, simple program like AltSpace, like Horizon Worlds, where you can be in this public arena, can give a lot of the experiences and the opportunities to be able to help that person at least start working toward, if not really, really coming to terms with those earlier steps. And then you can work on the latter ones.
Well, and also from a clinician perspective, I mean, I have a lot of teens who talk about how they get anxious, and maybe, they use the word panic attack a lot. Of, I go to the mall and I'm with a crowd and have a panic attack, but then we can actually see it a little bit in real time. Maybe it doesn't recreate exactly the same, but it gives us an insight, kind of like with Zoom. Something I like is seeing people's spaces, right? Like, you get a little glimpse into their world. And so this actually gives us a little glimpse into maybe those uncomfortable moments that they have trouble describing.
Right.
Absolutely. And a lot of people talk so much about the importance of being in a private space, and for all the reasons, for confidentiality, all important reasons. And there are also therapeutic reasons to be in public spaces for exactly what you're talking about, because if it's just the two of you in that arena, you're not going to have the same experiences, and you're not going to elicit the same responses. So it's an and. It's not an or. It's another and. We talk a lot in terms of ands.
And being able to, like you guys were saying, having a glimpse into their world and how they navigate different scenarios. So one game that I'm horrible at, and it actually makes me nauseous, so I really don't like to play it, is Gorilla Tag. Yeah, I'm like I don't know. I don't know if I can play it enough to get beyond the nausea, but I'm not interested in trying. So, um, because it's so, but if we look at that therapeutically, right? I think it speaks to my ability to work past it, or my willingness to want to work past the nausea. But seeing how, so that said, Gorilla Tag is a hard game, and you have to really practice to be able to do some of the stuff. And being able to witness somebody's compassion level or empathy level and their tolerance level for always having to teach you how to do something says a
And
lot.
how they respond
How
to
they
you.
respond, yeah.
Are they patient? Are they not? Are they gracious and they want to teach you? Do they not? Are they belittling you? Are they leaving you behind? Like, and then knowing what you know about the client and knowing what you see in the play, then you can start putting together, is this how other people treat them? Is this how they treat other people?
Right.
Is this a whole different experience? Does this game in particular pull that out? Is it generalized? Like, so many different directions you can go in.
I do a lot of tabletop role playing games in my practice, and one of the things, one of the more freeing things that I learned about that process was, if you are the dungeon master, if you're leading the game, in a traditional game, it's about playing the game and getting your players to a certain point and winning and getting and all of that. But in the therapy side of it, if they're interacting, like if you're doing a group and they're interacting with each other, the group is succeeding. So it's not, don't lose the therapeutic perspective of it to play the game. And so it just makes me think about, like with Gorilla Tag, the nausea part with, separate, but it being a hard game, it's really about how is the client connecting and what are they doing and getting out of it. If they're bad at the game, whatever. It's really not about that. And then the nausea, I would actually push back on you with the nauseous part of it is I can't ride those pirate ship
roller coasters
rides. I can ride roller coasters, but the ones that go back and forth, so it's and I push back on the, I don't know that it's anything you're doing wrong, just your body doesn't react well to do that. And so that would be something, okay, well, we're not going to play that game because it makes you nauseous. Let's find a different avenue to look at that.
That sea dragon that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like a pirate ship.
Horrific.
It goes like, and sometimes it goes
horrific.
up.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important point that there are going to be games, programs that either we don't like, I mean, we're human too. And or that don't sit well with us, like the nausea part of it. And we are human. We're going to have our own likes, dislikes, desires, whatever. I am a big believer that in the interaction, and I wish I could say what I'm about to say and the next thing all at the same time, because they both have importance. So pretend you're hearing me at the same time. Is that I'm a big believer that it's not about us, it's about the client.
Yep.
And at the same time, I would like to say it's also important for us to recognize our own selves and our own limitations. And if it's something, particularly if it's something like nausea, if that is there and it's not the beginnings of getting used to the headset, sometimes, that you can work through that. But if it's something, Gorilla Tag does it to me too. There are things in Rec Room that does that to me. So there are definitely programs that are going to impact us differently. If there is therapeutic value for the client, there could be other ways you can cast. You don't have to be in the headset with them. You can also be in the game. I've played Gorilla Tag before and pushed myself to get to a spot and stayed there.
Yeah.
I'm hearing, I'm watching, I'm telling the client ahead of time, I'm going to be in there. This thing makes me super sick. Like I can't do the the climbing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But is there therapeutic value, and is there some
Right.
other way
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
experience what is important to the client, and maybe even some of the interventions or the interactions that
Right.
are important?
And I'm glad that you said that, because I've done those same things of, like, you know, in other games too, where I've had to drop off. I'll be like, okay, so I'm gonna close my eyes until I get down to the bottom. You know, even, and also, you know, especially with Gorilla Tag, okay, I'm gonna be in this spot. Is it okay if I watch you
Mm-hmm.
play? And so I'm still in the headset and they can still see me, and I'm still able to help them feel seen in whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
I remember it wasn't Gorilla Tag, but it was a similar type game. And we were playing this game, and somehow I had ended up in, it was a multiplayer game, and I had ended up, I was very short, or very much, I was shorter than all the other players. Imagine that. In real life, I really am short, but somehow I was showing up in the game as very short, and these players came up. Well, look at that shorty, look at that shorty. And I'm like, hey, don't bully the short person. You know, and they stopped. And not only did they stop, they became more cooperative. And so being able to model setting that boundary
Mm-hmm.
for not only the client, but the other people in the game.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of what I think, even speaking to our clients and saying, this isn't good for me. Here are the ways that we can still do it. We can still interact. I can still witness. I can still be there. I can still all those things. That's also modeling what we were talking about a few minutes ago, is what do you need and how can you advocate for yourself? And it doesn't mean that it just plain old can't happen, but let's work together to have that work out. So there are a lot of things that are being modeled, I think, in being true to what our needs are as well, as long as it's not a need because it's a judgment.
Right.
That's different.
Yeah.
And that to me is something the therapist needs to work through. But in terms of like, I am feeling this way, how can we have this interaction, things like that, then I think they're really important things to model.
Yeah.
And it's also good that, like Jessica, you mentioned, you know, we're human too, and modeling that, the ways that you both are talking about, is good for our clients to see on different levels, because they might try to push through if they're, you know, if they're not feeling good because they want to do therapy right. And this way they can be like, no, you know what, this makes me sick too. I think I'd like to, okay, great, let's, or I'm feeling comfortable because like, the tall gorillas are bothering me.
Yeah. It's kind of like when, you know, caregivers say, well, have fun, be good. Like, you know, and then when they ask, well, how do they do? Well, you know, there is no expectation for when they come into my office. However they come is however they come.
Yeah. I use a line from the West Wing now when especially if I'm talking to my students, and rather than say do a good job, I'll just say do a job. You know, I mean, I want them to do a good job, but you know, let's remove that pressure a little bit.
Yeah.
The evaluative piece of it too. We don't have much longer. We have like, I don't know, a minute and a half or something really quick here.
That went by fast.
I'm curious. You've been involved for a long time. You've been on in the MHVR International Coalition for years now. And so in having these clinical experiences and having the experience of being part of a group of people who are passionate about this, is there anything that you would like people to know that we haven't been able to talk about that you find is important about using VR, immersive technologies in general, in mental health treatment?
I don't know. We might have talked about this already, but I don't know. but I don't know that I've said it in this way. And I think it's a necessity. I don't think, we talk a lot about both and not either or. And I really do believe that it is that and part. And not saying that we can't do good work without it. And if it's the thing that will support the client the best, let's do good, better, best, and include it.
Mm-hmm. And be open.
Yeah.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here, even though your
thanks
glasses
for the
broke and you can't
invite.
see.
I know. Oh my goodness. Well, I can see. Thankfully I can see you both, and it's a little blurry, but I can see you both. So.
Well, we appreciate you and the work that you're doing and coming in and chatting with us. I think it's really important for people to hear from clinicians who are on the front line of actually in the office with the clients, in telehealth with the clients, all the things. So it's great to get a perspective from somebody doing it day to day.
And I appreciate the work that you all are doing also.
Do you, as we wrap up, do you have anything you're working on, or anywhere that people can find you? Online, that is, not like hide
not
and
my
seek.
address. Yeah. Oh. So my website is my first and last name, Fiona Hill, lpc.com. And that has all my contact information on it. So,
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Well,
Never
thank
know
you.
who's going to come find you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
I'm here.
for joining
I'm
us.
not going anywhere.
We know not to send you a gorilla tag invite, so we'll
Oh yes, thank you. Because it will probably say online 5 weeks ago or something like that.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity.
This episode was brought to you by MHVR in partnership with the American Medical Extended Reality Association.